Hey everybody, it's Natalie Barnes here from Beyond the Reef Patterns. I just got back from walking the dog and boy was it cold out there. I think it might have been, I don't know, low 50s, maybe even in the 40s. Phew, hey, found my glasses. What do you know? Anyway, I thought we'd get started on a little Marcia Derse Treasure Hunt by Windham Fabrics. Oh, gosh. Just kidding. It's going to be in the 70s today. Welcome to Southern California. For the rest of you and your cold snap, I'm wishing you all a safe new year. Let's get started with this Marcia Derse fabric. I wanted to talk to you about Homeward, which is a new pattern by Beyond the Reef Patterns. However, I realized I can't demo that for you. I'm teaching that at Quilters Affair. And now what would the people in class think if they saw it demoed right here on Stitch? So I changed my mind. We're going to do a little skill building and we're going to be working with triangles. I'm going to press all these fat quarters and we're going to get started. Don't go anywhere. There's nothing but fun and shenanigans here after we've walked the dog. Welcome to Stitch. Today we're going to debunk the mysteries about triangles. Not the kind you wear for a party hat, not the ones you wear out in the desert made out of tinfoil, but the ones made out of fabric, the ones that you're going to sew with. What if I were to tell you right here, right now, that sewing a triangle top quilt is just as easy as sewing that top out of 5-inch squares? Now, here's a tongue twister for you. Triangles take more than 3 seams. Even though a 5-inch square is going to take 4 seams, top, bottom, left, and right, a triangle, even with 3 sides, is still going to need top, bottom, left, and right sewing. Go figure that. That's the first myth debunked. A 3-sided triangle really needs 4 seams. There you go. Why? Because we're going to sew them together in rows. It's true. Even if you want to make hexagons out of your triangles, you can do them in rows. I wanted today to make sure that I was showing you how to maximize a fat quarter. And so the size and the angle that I chose is all going to be listed in the description below in a free pattern. But you will be able to get 8 30-degree triangles out of 1 fat quarter. So with 27 different prints in Treasure Hunt by Marcia Derse, you'll end up with, let's see, 27 times 8, I think that's 7 times, 216 some triangles. That's enough to make pretty nice little size project. You can arrange them any way you like. Let me show you some examples of things that I did with other fabrics. Fabric's not available anymore, so don't ask me where the fabric is, and some different shapes. I mentioned that you could make hexagons from your triangles merely by sewing them in rows. And this is exactly what I did here. Here's some more Marcia Derse fabric, no longer available, but this is merely nothing more than 60-degree triangles. The only thing I did different in this project that I had made for me was to create areas where we are floating these diamonds, and the diamonds were a specific color. Another row by row by row project. Simple. In the book that I wrote for Martingale, That Patchwork Place, I used triangles again. And instead of splitting equally with the strips to make the triangle, I split them into little teeny strips. Another Marcia Derse fabric for the pattern Tattoo from Beyond the Reef Patterns. Stand up just a little bit. I'm going to cut off my head here. I added triangles and plain strips of fabric. I think you can see triangles are really, really versatile, and there's a lot that you can do with it. So I have stacked some of the fat quarters up here. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to cut off the selvage. I usually take a good inch of that and just cut that right off. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to measure 10 1/4 inches. And because I'm not using a 10 1/4 inch ruler, I'm going to do something that I don't necessarily suggest, but I'm going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then I'm going to add 1/4 to both sides here, making sure that that is even, and I'm going to cut 10 1/4, and then I'm going to slide this over and cut the next set of 10 1/4 inch pieces. Let me move this out of the way. Again, I always like to just count with my finger to make sure I've got an actual 10 1/4, but that 10 1/4 and 10 1/4 is 20 1/2 inches, and I think that'll fit on most fat quarters, you know, with a 42 to 44 inch fabric. So here we go with our 10 1/4. So you can see we don't really have much left. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this around, whoops, the other side here, and I'm going to square this edge up. So I'm going to get as close as I can here to the edges, make sure that this is aligning top and bottom so that my cut is square, and just trim off that little extra bit. The next thing that's going to happen is I'm going to grab my, I love it, and the next thing that's going to happen, what do I think? I'm a reporter. I'm going to start with my triangle ruler, and you'll see that there's a center line here and a line to the left and a line to the right. So we're going to want to make left and right half triangles, and so the first time I cut, I'm going to align with my far edge here. I'll line this up with 10 1/4 and then cut that. So I'm backwards here right now, so I'm going to flip this around. But that will be the first cut. The next time you cut this, you're going to cut it upside down, and you're going to start this way. So that way you have your lefts and you have your rights. So remember, when you're cutting both of these strips, one of them is going to be with the ruler facing you, the other one's going to be with the ruler upside down. So let me turn this around and just give you an idea of this. So I'm going to start with this right here. I'm going to align it with that outside dotted line, and I'm going to make my first 10 1/4. So these are going to be my outside half triangles. Then I'm simply going to walk my way through the rest of this strip, aligning at the bottom and this little flat edge at the top, always cutting away from myself, and I'm just going to keep right on cutting those triangles. We're going to talk about how to piece them. In reality, when you have two triangles, you're literally going to piece the rows together just like this. The next row, of course, then you'll be piecing like this. So you don't have to worry about working with the triangle size itself. You're just going to sew strips. How do you sew those triangles together, you want to ask? Here's the big secret. You're going to offset them by 1/4 inch and sew down the line with that offset. You do not want to align your edges like this. You want to offset it by 1/4 inch. I've got one here that I've already done. You can see that we've sewn that with that little extra edge on the top and bottom. And then the next one that we do, we're just going to come over to our machine, and with our scant 1/4 inch and with that 1/4 inch offset, we are going to sew right along here. Here we go. Sewing with our 1/4 inch seam. I put just a couple of pins in this right at the end. Gonna drop those pins into my pin cushion that was gifted to me by my good friend Marianne. And I do actually have something to sew off on, and there you have it. You know you've done it right when these two are aligning, and you know you've done it right when you've got that little bit of 1/4 inch right at the top, because remember, a triangle is going to take a top seam, a bottom seam, a left seam, and a right seam. Those are your 4 seams. Now go forth, cut triangles, and make your triangle strips. Leave me a comment down below, and please tell me what angle you decided to use and what you're going to be making. All of the information about cutting and the size of the triangles that we used here are going to be in the description box. Oh, one last thing. If you're interested in making sure that you catch our next episode, please subscribe. That way you'll be sure to see when Stitch finally does make his appearance. Happy quilting from my home to yours.